late TV fights. We're good for a great match. This is the final match before we get into the finals. The winner of this will be playing Cody Newberry. But I've got a great panel of judges here. You may know him as the commissioner of Chokeslam, but we've got JTH here. JTH, how are you feeling, and what do you think of this match?
I'm really looking forward to this. As many people that have known from my TV trivia, I actually don't know much TV, so I'm going to come in with a very unbiased mindset tonight. So really going to be listening closely to the arguments and the counter arguments, and really looking forward to this match.
Our other judge is Ryan Payne. Ryan, how are you feeling about this match?
Well, I'm actually looking forward to this. First time I'm doing something on late TV. It's kind of nice. I don't have to do anything regarding sports or geek. Just good to come on with just my general opinion and knowledge of television.
And got a great bunch of competitors. And introducing our first competitor, he took out JD Rest to get here, and that's Jay Burnz. Jay, how are you feeling about the match?
Well, I have zero prep time, so I'm just here to have fun, make people laugh, and hopefully do a couple of quick Google searches. So,
and introducing second, he took out Dustin Mason to get here, and that's Joe Harrison. Joe, how are you feeling about this match?
I am excited. Jay is a great competitor. Like I've been saying, I have a murderer's row to get through, and I got through one murderer. I'm ready to get through a second. We both have zero prep time. This is going to be complete anarchy, and I love that.
So how the match works is you get an opening round of 90 seconds, a main debate portion of 5 minutes, and a closing of 1 minute. Anyone think I've not done this before? I've done plenty of these. But each opponent does have a 1 minute extension that they can use on either their opening or the closing if they feel like they need to do it. And without any further ado, go to the first question, which is a very fun question, and it is: which current Fan League competitor should get his own TV show on a network channel? And this is one that I'd also put the stipulation: you can't pick me, you can't pick the competitors or anyone that's been called up to the Schmodown. So I'm going to go to Jay first on his opening. So Jay, you got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you begin talking.
all right, guys, we like the fan leagues. Obviously, we like some of the people involved in the fan leagues, some a little bit more than others. I've picked one that a lot of people like, but a lot of people don't really like either. And I think that'll be the greatest combination because you'll get people watching out of spite, just hope that it would fail. And you've got like legit fans who would watch it and want to see it grow. It shows Cody Newberry, the the manager of the Shire, whatever the fuck they're calling themselves nowadays, because I'd choose a manager over any one of the competitors because it's just more fun to see that he gets to interact with more people. Whereas if you just choose a singular person, there's not a lot that you can do with that. So Cody Newberry, the Fellowship is what they're called. My bad, y'all. No disrespect. Yeah, Cody Newberry TV show. We'll put it on UPN.
And finishing early, we'll see how that plays off. And Joe, we're going to go to you for your opening. Time begins when you start talking.
Okay, so I think that Jay and I, we both kind of have a similar mindset where we're just like, you know, people in the Fellowship deserve TV shows. But I went with probably what I would consider to be the crown jewel of the Fellowship, and that is Robert the Hobbit Parker. And the reason being, Robert is a funny guy. He is a nice guy. And not only that, he does interact with people. You're going to see him interact with Brother Tim. You're going to see him interact with Maggie. And you're going to be able to see him kind of, just be really geeky. And, we do need some new geek stuff coming in. And, we can get it on CBS. We can get it on ABC, NBC. Any of these networks will pick it up. So Robert Parker is who I'm going with. And I say, let's just duke it out in the 5-minute debate now.
You've got 5 minutes on the clock. Your freeform debate begins when someone starts talking.
Now, I see what you're getting with having the manager and being able to, but I think that when we're talking about the competitor, I kind of, want to see what this competitor's life is going to be like. And, just looking from the vlogs, what we got with the multiplex when they all came together with Robert going to Brother Tim's house and, his interactions with Maggie, even just, when Maggie won a match and he comes and screams, we get this high energy character that we see within Robert Parker. And that's kind of what people are really wanting in these lives. With Cody, it would be more of a subdued character, and a subdued character would work in, kind of like a premium channel, but we're talking about a network channel. And I think Cody is kind of more like an HBO or a Starz character TV show to put him on. But when we're talking about network television, you're just going to get more with Robert, and you're going to be able to see his interactions with his family members and just that. And feel free to jump in at any time. I don't want to hog all the time.
I just wasn't trying to step on your toes, buddy. I appreciate you saying that my pick is worthy of a higher paid, like, premium subscription plan. It speaks to the caliber of the character that I've chosen. At the exact same point in time, we don't really need this hyperactive character on TV. That's all we get. We need something that subverts the expectations of our viewers. We need somebody who can be funny, who can say what needs to be said and is taken seriously, but will always crack a joke at the end of the day to make you smile. What you get with Cody Newberry on a TV show on just prime time, let's just say prime time, whatever, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, wherever the hell you want to put the kid. Cody Newberry is probably the best choice out of anybody in the fan leagues that isn't named Jay Burnz. Because he's as funny as myself. He's as quick-witted as myself, and you don't get to see that a lot on TV. What you get is these hyperactive people who interact with people that are close to them. While he's close to them as a group, it's not his family. So you get to basically see a stranger become friends and become family with this, not just by bonds that are made with marriage.
Well, you see, if I wanted something that was kind of quick-witted, but, also is going to be able to crack laughs, but also be serious, I would watch something like an Ice-T on Law and Order SVU. We already see that type of character, and it already works. And we do have a kind of spot to refill with a more like hyper-energetic nerd character
You're pitching Barry Allen right now.
Well,
that's basically what you're calling Robert. We've already got that. We've got that in Barry Allen. We've got it in Cisco. It's all over Prime TV right now. What we don't have, you've mentioned one person. We've got one, and it's Ice-T on SVU. We don't have a lot of that, but he's the best part of that show. And if they gave him his own spinoff, everybody would watch it. That's the thing. If you gave Robert his own spinoff, I'm sorry. Robert is the Joey of the Fellowship. He works really great when you see him. He's mad funny, but you give him his own show and it's just going to fall apart.
I disagree. I think Robert is not the joy of the Fellowship. If anything, he's the Chandler of the Fellowship, where he's what really kind of brings the Fellowship together and is someone that they can crux on. Cody, while you are able to mention, I think this whole thing with wanting to watch him crash and burn, hate watching television isn't really what we kind of want to see anymore. We want something that we're going to be sit down and enjoy, or else it's going to get canceled because people will hate watch for an episode or two, but then they'll come away. But with Robert, you'd be able to actually get people who are really enjoying the show for what it is, enjoying his character. And yes, while we do have Barry Allen and Cisco, they're in a different genre. They're in more of a superhero genre. But Robert just being able to work in a straight comedy, in a straight family comedy, in a straight family drama, where we really don't see a lot of family dramas anymore in family comedies, to just kind of, put him in and have him interact with Tim and Maggie, bring the rest of the Fellowship on. Cody can be there as a guest star. I agree. Cody would be thank you. Cody would be fun to, it should be, put him in. It's just like, and with Cody Newberry, he's a fun person to have, but I just don't think he can be the crux of his own show, because Cody does some of his best work when he's with other people, rather it be him making fun of.
But that's the thing. As a manager, he gets to interact with all of these people. He is there for everybody, including your choice. He talks him through everything, so you can see that relationship being built up. You can also see the fact that Cody Newberry is the glue that holds that group together. He is what gets them to championships. Outside of the talent of the people, you get to see that being built. You get to see that being primed by Cody Newberry. Bringing him in and showing his interactions with everybody, and like I said, making him, he is the glue. You make him the main center, you get to have interactions with everybody else, and you get to see how well he performs with everybody.
Time. All right, that was definitely a fun freeform debate. Now I've got a 1 minute closing, and because Jay led off the opening, Joe, you're going to go first on the closing. And you've got 1 minute, and time begins when you start talking.
So as you were saying before, time ran out. With him being the glue together, then that's more of an ensemble show, and it's kind of what character. And I think Robert would be good when you're just like showing him as himself, kind of being himself, and then bringing in the other characters to interact with and enjoy with. But with Cody, as you're saying, with him being the glue that holds these people together, that's more of an ensemble show where you have to see his interactions with everyone. But Robert, we could just follow him in his day-to-day life, what he's doing in Multiplex, what he's doing in Full Metal, and then the other characters are just there to be like, oh, fun little tidbits. But with Cody, the show you're pitching that's going to be the crux of the show, is the ensemble of the Fellowship. I think you're pitching more of a Fellowship show that just says, oh, but we're going to be following the manager to, as our angle for it. But with a Robert Parker show, we're following Robert Parker, and then the Fellowship and everything else, those are just there as aspects of the show, not the show, which your show is the Fellowship show with an angle of this is the lens we're looking at through. It's not a Cody Newberry show. And that's why Cody Newberry isn't the right choice, because the way you pitched it.
All right. Jay, you got 1 minute on the clock. Let's bring it to a close. The time begins when you start talking.
You literally took my argument, said it was wrong, and then spoke my argument as your own. So, yes, Cody Newberry gets to interact with all these other people, but you brought in Maggie, you brought in Tim, you brought in Cody, you brought in everybody else, and how he gets to interact with them. But Cody doesn't get to do that. That doesn't make sense to me. Cody Newberry is the funniest person. You don't just get to see him interact with everybody in the Fellowship. You get to see him do the live, the after show. You get to see him do Your List Sucks. You get to see him interact with everybody else. Yes, it's a singular show about Cody Newberry, but you get to see his life in the fan leagues. And yeah, we can talk about whether or not they're going to be mainstays of the show, but I would much rather follow around an interesting person instead of somebody who's literally just watched The Lord of the Rings 415 times. I would much rather listen to somebody crack jokes about a whole bunch of stuff than just keep making nerdy references over and over again. And I think that's what you get with Cody Newberry more than you do with Robert Parker. I'm just saying.
Time. Right, that was definitely an interesting debate there. All right, JDH, what do you think of this battle? Where are you going to give your point to?
Well, this is interesting because during the opening debates, I spent the first 3 minutes going, wait, is UPN still a channel? I didn't even remember that it was. This was interesting. Both of them kind of brought different spectrums. Obviously, Robert Parker, Cody Newberry, it's two polar opposites. And they both brought good arguments as to why their respective choice worked. I think at the end of the day, when it came down to when they both brought up, what sells on network television, I think I heard a little bit more that was convincing on Joe's side when it came to, you put it on network television. We have characters like Robert that sell huge ratings, get tons of seasons, don't have to worry about it getting canceled. Cody Newberry, he brought up, can kind of push the edge, fine line, always saying something that might be controversial. So it was, in a way, I did like Jay. He almost came back, almost made the perfect counter argument, but I just needed a little bit more there. I don't think he got quite to the point where he shut down Robert entirely. So, me personally, I'm going to give the point to Joe with Robert Parker.
And Ryan, who are you going to give your point to and why?
I'll be honest, these guys, my sentiments are the same as Jeremy's. Both Jay and Joe gave off two very distinct types of TV shows, or at least around their certain characters. I did like how Joe was mentioning certain people who Robert would interact with, which would introduce us to maybe kind of like a trio or a very tight-knit group for his audience to follow. And Jay, he definitely did more, like he definitely did strengthen the argument of Cody being the subversive, where you get to meet all sorts of different characters from there. I think ultimately when it came down to the argument was, I'm gonna be honest, it came down to, I wanted to hear more on how, like, what their show would be centered around, and I did get a lot from both Joe and Jay, but with Jay in his closing argument, he unfortunately, I mean, he definitely gave more to where by the show following Cody, you do get to meet other characters. You do get to follow Cody when he interacts, not only just talking about Your List Sucks or with the Fellowship or with Multiplex, but with Cody. He seems more someone who you would traverse, like whose life you could actually span into more, like into multi seasons, instead of like tie it down to what with Robert that you would do with Multiplex. And to be honest, some of the arguments Joe made towards Cody did help strengthen Jay's arguments as well. So I'm gonna have to give the point to Jay.
All right, so it comes down to me. And yeah, I'm probably going to go slightly towards Jay on this as well. Because I think a lot of the arguments that Joe did make did strengthen, like as one said, I did strengthen Jay's a bit as well. Like especially the interactions. And I think it was one that other those things I thought could have happened when I saw them both pick people that which from or going to interact with the same people anyway. Just go. I was just interested to see how they're going to do it. So, but regardless, Jay gets the point, and we move on to the next round. And now the second question is just a very simple one, and it is, what is the best episode of Friends? And because Jay went first in the openings, the first one, Joe, you're going to go first in the openings for this. And your 90 seconds begins when you start talking.
So the best episode of Friends is the last episode of Friends, and it's because it's really where you get to see the arcs of all of these characters over these seasons that you love. You get to see them fully fulfilled, and you get to see Ross and Rachel finally get together because she is her lobster. You get to see Chandler and Monica have the surprise where they have not one, but they have two kids. You get to see Phoebe and her relationship is successful and she's happy. You get to see Joey, he's making the big move out to Hollywood. It's the culmination of all of these seasons and all of these characters. We followed these characters throughout their lives for so long, and to see it pay off in a way, we even get confirmation and we even get a conclusion with Gunther, to where as much as people are just like, oh, he's annoying, that we see that the other people actually that the main cast, they do care about Gunther and they do consider him as someone who they actually do. Even Rachel herself says that she loves Gunther, obviously not in the way that he loves her. I mean, to just see this and to see kind of, we kind of get to see this final go through and this final send off to these characters we have just come to love so much. And it's such a beautiful way where we know what these people are going through and we followed them for so long, and to see them finally, their realization of who they are and what they want, and just their successes and failures have all come to this point, and such a beautiful send off and a goodbye to the apartment is just amazing. And there's no other episode that really encapsulates what is truly the spirit of Friends.
And time. Jay, you've got 90 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
The best episode of Friends is the one with the embryos. It is the one with the apartment swap quiz show. It is the one where Phoebe tries to do the nice thing and help her brother conceive. This is not really like a contest. I don't want to see an ending of a TV show be the best episode of a TV show. It should be a great episode of a TV show, but what you should have is something like in the middle of the actual season run, probably be one of the best episodes. And this is like, not necessarily, I'm not going to say this is like one of the most quoted episodes of all time. This is the one that I quote the most. This is the one that I have the most fun watching. This is the one where you do get to see all of the relationships start to be made, and I'd much rather watch something start and have it be hopeful to see it continue its upward trajectory than just have it end and not have anything left at the end of the day. The one with the embryos is my choice.
And finishing, we'll see how that pays off. We've got 5 minutes on the main round. Time begins when someone starts talking.
So as you say that the ending shouldn't be the best episode, I think the ending can and is allowed to be the best episode because it's what you're building to. And if you're if you don't have that within your show, it's going to kind of be weak. Because if the ending isn't one of the best episodes, if not the best episode, you get a situation like with How I Met Your Mother where it flops. Now, the one with the embryos, I will give you, it is a nice episode and we really get to see these relationships. But with the last one, we get to finally see where all of these characters have going. We followed them for years, and to finally, see what they want. Monica and Chandler getting to start their family. Ross finally getting to, fully admit that Rachel is the one he needs to be with, and Rachel realizing that. And, even Joey and Phoebe, they, as a lot of people kind of, say, oh, they had weaker endings, but they didn't, because Joey, he gets to go off, despite what people think about the spinoff, that's regardless. Joey was able to go out and pursue his dreams, and Phoebe was able to have a successful relationship with the man she loves, and it's just something. And the one with the embryos, yes, we get to see a very heartfelt episode, but a heartfelt episode in the middle of the season, there are multiple heartfelt episodes. There are multiple heartfelt episodes. The one where they're in London and Ross accidentally says, I do to Rachel instead. These heartfelt episodes, we get that a lot in Friends. And so picking just another simple heartfelt episode, it's a good episode, but it's not the best episode.
What you've done is just choose another heartfelt episode, though. And yeah, we'll talk about the spinoff here in a second. But what do we have? We have this group of not so great people. Like if you go back and you watch the show, they're all kind of shitty people. When it comes right down to it, they're not the greatest of people. So for me to watch them all get their quote unquote happy endings isn't something that I really want to see. They're all lovable characters, but they're all kind of detestable people, kind of like the main cast of Seinfeld. But you don't get any of that. Well, I mean, you get a little bit of it with Fat Music Monica in the one with the embryos episode. What do we all love? We love laughing at things and we love laughing at people. And I think, especially in a show that is a comedy, one of your best episodes has to be a comedic episode. It doesn't have to be this heartfelt, tragic, kind of bittersweet ending moment memory. Ross and Rachel, nobody cares, dude. Everybody gave up on Ross and Rachel after season 6 because they couldn't make up their fucking minds. Monica and Chandler, cool. We all knew that was actually going to work. Joey fucks off to Hollywood and gets his show canceled after a season and a half. I'm good.
The whole thing is, and you say that and we do like to laugh in a comedy, especially when they're in the hospital in the last one, and it's discovered that Monica and Chandler are going to have twins, and that's funny where they're kind of, it's funny because they're not ready for it, but seeing these people who are starting a family and being able to, accept that this is what they are, it's not a bittersweet ending because we know these are endings that these characters have grown to deserve. They might have been detestable people, but they do improve throughout the series. They kind of do figure out what they want. And yes, you can say maybe, will they, won't they is a very big part of the show, and you might have liked it. It's what a lot of people wanted to see was the conclusion to Ross and Rachel. And for us to get that conclusion in the final episode, while you might say it's ham-handed and a good episode, but not the best episode, the one with the embryos is just a simple middle heartfelt episode where it's heartfelt, yes, and we get to laugh. But the last one, we kind of get to laugh, but we also have more heartfelt moments than the one with the embryos.
Oh, okay, but at the exact same point in time, it's a comedy show. It's not a drama. I don't need a serious ending to this show. What I need is a good episode that makes me laugh, belly laugh. And I just watched clips from this one. Thank you, Malcolm. And it continues to do that. You know what doesn't continue to do that? And you know what's overplayed and kind of trite? The ending of the show Friends. It doesn't matter. Nobody cared at that point in time. What was it, 2000, 2001, when Friends actually ended? Nobody cared whether Ross and Rachel got together. Nobody cared that Monica and Chandler were having twins. It wasn't that big of a thing, because if it was that big of a thing, they wouldn't have ended it. They would have continued. And the one with the embryos is great for a middle of the show, like the entire show run, to show you why this is one of, if not the best episodes, because you get a little piece of everybody shining through, instead of, oh, hey, look, this is the end, this is the logical conclusion point, and this is all you get.
Well, being the logical conclusion point isn't what I get. It's a natural ending. The one with the embryos is a fine middle of a series run episode.
It's not though. That's just it. Because if that was the case, they wouldn't have spun off Joey.
Time. That was a definitely heated battle, but
I think this is the most respectful I've been in a debate.
I think it's
it's respectful heat. But they've still got the closings to go, and Joe went first in the opening. So Jay, you can go first on the closing, and time begins when you start talking.
You get to see this great dynamic in between Monica and Rachel and Joey and Chandler when it comes to the one with the embryos. A majority of the episode is taking place while they're making bets, trying to figure out everything. And it's some of the best humor and some of the best comedy that we've seen in this show. And if I was to show one person one episode that I thought was the best episode that would get them to watch Friends, it would be this one. It would not be the finale, regardless of whether or not they know the character arcs. Everybody does at this point in time. You can't escape it. It was a part of the zeitgeist at that moment. But we get to actually enjoy these people. And when you get to the ending, you really don't, because now you're filled with what ifs about Ross and Rachel. Now you're filled with what ifs about Chandler and Monica. What you get with the one with the embryos is legitimate, just belly laughs. Mrs. Chananda Lurbong, what's
time? All right, and we've got that, and then we've got Joe. You've got 1 minute on your closing. Time begins when you start talking.
I think what you're talking about is a good episode to, introduce people to the show who have not seen the show before and might be interested in it. And that's a good entry point. And yes, you don't want to show a series finale as an entry point, but when you're talking about the best, I'm talking about, when I think about the best, I think I want to see the logical where these characters are. And Ross and Rachel finally coming together, while you might say people had lost interest, people hadn't have lost interest in that. And with Chandler and Monica, getting to see them start the family, you say, okay, yeah, we knew it was going to work out, but we didn't know that they were going to have twins, and for them to be able to say yes. And while you may say, the spinoff was bad, it was the logical end for Friends. Joey's story continuing afterwards, that has nothing to do with what is the best episode of Friends. And we just get to see these characters who we have loved forever kind of get their conclusions that they deserve, and that is why it's the best episode. You picked a good episode to introduce people to the show, but I picked the best episode that really encapsulates what Friends is all about and why it's the best. And because we get to see the laughter, we get to see
time. All right, and I'm going to go to Ryan first. Ryan, who should get the point and why?
Okay, they did great arguments for episodes that, to be honest, I'm not as familiar with Friends, but the episodes they chose, these are the episodes I'm actually myself the most familiar with. The ending, Joe makes a great point that it definitely it brings us to a closing arc of all the journeys every character's gone through, and has a lot of great heartfelt moments. But that's what you expect out of an ending, to try to tie up stories while trying to set the next chapter. Jay, on the other hand, he picked an episode somewhere within like the middle of Friends, like 9, 10, I don't know, 12 seasons. And he chose an episode which actually is a good turning point there. Bottom line, I mean, he talks about how Phoebe is doing a nice thing for her brother, even though with Phoebe's character, she's kind of seen as selfish. He does mention the apartment bet between Joey, Chandler, Monica, and Rachel, which has some great moments in there, comedic, but also does say a lot about their characters in general. And to me, Jay came out with a better argument for his episode because he's talking about the dynamic between each of them. I mean, Jay's gonna get the point because I mean, as much as I love Joe's episode, and the last episode is great, though. Jay did say it best. I mean, I maybe I'm paraphrasing here, but the last episode shouldn't be what I mean. If the last episode shouldn't be considered the greatest because it is the last one. Ultimately, I think it felt like an uphill battle for Joe there. Jay's gonna get the point.
All right, I'll go next on this. But yeah, this is very tough to call because both did a good argument. But I'm leaning slightly towards Jay on this. Like pretty for most of the same reasons that Ryan did, and also is like he brought up the fact on how he had on the series finale saying that it was more a dramatic kind of finale for a show which is generally considered a comedy. But I think that's probably paraphrasing what he was meaning. But yeah, and he brought up a lot of the great comedic moments in the one with the embryos. Like while Joe did bring up some good points about how the series finale wrapped up the storylines and that. And all that, he didn't do quite enough sort of to fight against the one of the embryos. But so with that, Jay does get the second point. But yeah, so this question is a must get for Joe. Otherwise, Jay will win by knockout. But with that, the question is, which TV show would be most improved if it had a musical episode and it can't have had one already? I'm going to go to Jay first for the opening. Time begins when you start talking.
Look, I chose a Seth MacFarlane TV show that not a lot of people are actually giving love to. It is The Orville. You know, it's got him and Scott Grimes, and I don't know if you know this, but both of them can actually sing. Scott Grimes has been nominated for awards for his voice. He releases R&B albums. You can see it when he does singing episodes in like American Dad, and everybody knows that Seth MacFarlane has a great voice. If you put those two together in this comedic kind of Star Trek-y futuristic episode, you could see a lot of like improvement. You would definitely get a lot of the people who watch shows like Glee and shit for, you know, music. And the fact that this hasn't happened yet, and they're right around season 3. I think the second season just ended. Season 3 is usually where you finally find one of those. I think at some point in the middle of season 3 would be the best, and it would probably be one of the highest rated episodes of this show. Plus, you get to just hear the crooning, soothing voices of Seth MacFarlane and Scott Grimes. Yeah, The Orville is my choice.
All right. And Joe, got a minute 30 for your opening. Time begins when you start talking.
I'm going with a little-known show called Abby's, and the reason I think Abby's would do great with a musical episode is the fact that it takes place within a backyard bar. Yes, a backyard bar, so we can have it. We get all the songs that you're going to hear at a backyard bar. You're gonna get your Sweet Carolines, your Don't Stop Believin', your Brown Eyed Girls, and it's gonna be fun. We're going to see the characters of Abby, of Frank, of Celia, and you're just going to see them, kind of the regulars, and we're even going to see, we're going to see Jem, and we're going to see all of these people kind of, just have a good time just singing and being what a bar is about, just having that nice bar atmosphere and being able to kind of, have this thing where it can just be like a karaoke night at the bar and just have it be like that and have a really just a fun time with an episode that really is going to kind of bring what the show is about and kind of elevate it even much more with having a musical episode set in a backyard bar. And that's why I'm going with Abby's.
All right, so we've got Abby's versus the Orville, which is going to be really interesting. And you've got 5 minutes on the clock. Your main round will begin when someone starts talking.
I'm gonna straight up just say this right off the bat. What you're pitching is every episode of Glee ever. They're just going to do covers of songs, whether you put it at a karaoke night or not. Your show couldn't even last a single season. It's already canceled. It's off the air. It wouldn't save this show. It wouldn't improve this show to the point where it wouldn't have gotten canceled. With the Orville, at least we know it's still going into a third season, and we actually know that people on this show could sing instead of having to spend extra money to create a better show. What we've got is people who actually can sing and would improve the show by being able to show off their talents.
I think being able to show off their talents, but we already get that. If I want to hear Seth MacFarlane sing, I can go watch Family Guy because there's musical episodes. I think, just by bringing the Orville, I don't think having a musical episode of the Orville would really add much more to the Orville as more than it would be a cheap gimmick. And while you might be able to say that about mine, I think it would make more sense because bars are known for having to have patrons singing, to have people singing, and, to be able to get this ex-Marine, just being able to have fun and loosen up for one night with Abby, the bar, and to be able to have Fred and Bill and James and Frankie and all of them just be able to come together and have a really good night, because that's what Abby's is about, is a group of people coming together. And the Orville is kind of a parody of Star Trek. And I don't see how a musical.
I wouldn't say it's a parody. I would say it's more of an homage, but at least with the Orville and with Seth MacFarlane and Scott Grimes, you know what you would get? Original songs instead of just the same covers of songs over and over and over again, which we've already seen. Plus, we get to see it in a new location. Plus, it's set in the future, so you don't know what they could do. That's probably the best setting for a musical episode because you don't know what's happening at that point. What we have with your show, like you've said multiple times, is yes, we have a bar where people do karaoke. Nobody wants to watch an episode of TV where everybody just sings karaoke and covers songs. What you want is something that brings a little bit of an originality to a trope like a musical episode, because that's really what a musical episode is. A musical episode is just a trope in a TV show. But at least with the Orville and with Seth MacFarlane and Scott Grimes and even Adrian Padalecki, you get people who can actually sing and are songwriters. You want to see him sing? I want to see him sing live. I don't want to see him sing behind the cover of a cartoon. I would like to see him actually do it in person. So that right there to me doesn't work as an argument. Like I said, what you're pitching is literally just every Glee episode, and every episode where somebody sings the covers of a Queen song, of a Rolling Stones song, of a Goo Goo Dolls song. I want to see something original with this.
And the way you can make it original, as we have seen with Abby's, is she's struggling with her PTSD, and it's these people trying to cheer her up, and they don't know how to cheer her up. And it's the music that, it reminds her of her childhood, reminds her of her memories, and being able to kind of get it with Bill going through his divorce, with Fred dealing with his alcoholism, with James, having to come in and figuring these songs that would really elevate and bring into their characters. While you want original songs from Seth MacFarlane, you can get original songs from Seth MacFarlane, but, to kind of figure out what these characters really resonate with them and what's in their soul. And while you say it's every episode of Glee, it's not every episode of Glee ever, because it's kind of figuring out what these characters really want. While Glee used their songs as just a plot point and driving,
that's exactly what every episode of Glee is. They're using these songs and they're using covers of these songs to figure out and show the world what they want. and what they want to be is singers. So by you saying that that's not what it is, you're legitimately showing the world that's exactly what it is.
But it's not what it is, because these aren't people who are wanting to be singers. These are people who are trying to process their emotions and figure out who they are within the setting of this bar, and bringing people together. And that's what the show's about. Glee, and while you say the Orville, while yes, they would be cool to be set in future, the original songs wouldn't make what the Orville. The Orville is a good show as is, and I don't see how adding a musical episode would improve it.
It would improve it for the simple fact that we actually get to see people who can sing in a setting where you don't actually get to see this. It's weird because you don't get to see a whole lot of music in the future. You get a whole lot of these set in the here and now, and that's why you get a lot of covers. But that's just it. You can take something that's wholly unoriginal, like a musical episode, and place it in a wholly original space, whether it's an homage, whether it's a ripoff, and find a new home for it and actually produce a great musical episode for a TV show that you wouldn't have thought that's the actual possible for.
And time. Whew. That was definitely a good debate there. Still got the closings to go. And both competitors still have their 1 minute extension if they need it. And go. Jay went first in the opening, so Joe goes first in the closing. You've got 1 minute.
I'm going to use my extension.
You're going to use your extension. You've got 2 minutes, and time begins when you start talking.
Fuck yeah.
So as Jay was saying earlier, I don't think it can really improve it because the show is amazing as is. When we're talking about a show that can be improved, Abby's can be improved because while we are starting to see the depth of these characters within the season, with seeing the songs that are associated with what they're feeling, and he might say it's a Glee ripoff or every episode of Glee, but it's not, because what we get is we can really see how Abby is struggling with her PTSD and what everyone is really going through and their own struggles. With the Orville, it would just be funny comedy songs that are set in the future. We wouldn't really get some depth to it. But with Abby's, we would really be able to see what these characters are going through within the music. I'm not trying to repeat myself. And while, yes, it might just be covers, but when I hear these covers, I'm going to start thinking that's what the character is feeling. That's what is resonating. That's what's in the character. So we might be, yes, we might not even, we could even have more obscure songs. We could have This Is War, when we're talking about Abby's PTSD. We can see Fred, just talking about, I blame it on the alcohol. Seeing a middle-aged guy, singing some R&B songs. We can get these comedy moments and kind of figure out where these characters are at in a fun episode that is also really tackling these issues that the show is trying to do but never really gets the chance to, because only talking about issues in a bar, it never really gets it done. But by adding music to a setting where you're associate music with can make it even that much better. Well, I guess, and I think just by saying, because Seth MacFarlane is good at writing music and he's a good performer, the Orville is already great as is, as an homage to Star Trek. And I think just adding a musical episode would be kind of a step back, because it would be just like, people are just like, wow, this is supposed to be a Star Trek homage. And now they're kind of like, really kind of just being like, we're going to do something funny. We're going to do a musical episode. It can be a tropey episode, but I think it would be more of a tropey episode and wouldn't improve the show if you put it in the future. But by bringing this tropey episode.
Time. All right. So, Jay, you've got 1 minute on your closing, unless you want to use your extension.
Yeah, I'll use my extension. I probably won't use my extension. I probably won't use the full time for it, but let's go ahead.
Good. But time will begin when you start talking.
Okay, so I wrote a couple of notes down after what Joe had said. It's not against the rules. I checked the rule book, and if it is, I'll just Venmo you $7.50 afterwards. A show can't be amazing if it's canceled after the first season. It only got 10 episodes. It wasn't that good, and a musical episode wouldn't have saved it. Musical episodes also don't have to be heal-alls for emotional damage. You keep bringing up this person's PTSD and how these songs would help them. How would a song like War help somebody who's suffering from PTSD if they're a recovering Marine? That doesn't make any sense to me. Cheers did your bar gimmick better, and adding a musical episode to the Orville could present a challenge to the crew where they have to use music to actually to communicate with an alien species who only knows how to communicate in this way. You're adding this to your episode. What I'm doing is I'm actually creating a situation where the musical episode is kind of organic in that way, where yes, it's a fucking homage to Star Trek. It's out there. It's a sci-fi show. What you don't get in a lot of sci-fi TV shows is a musical episode. But guess what? If you run into an alien that can't communicate regularly, but can communicate via song or can communicate via rhythm, guess what you have? You have an organic episode, and it would only make that episode better. The Orville is the logical choice to have a musical episode, because it fits in the story instead of it just being shoehorned in about a karaoke night or about some sad alcoholic singing blame it on the alcohol. You're grabbing all these tropes out of this. What I'm doing is I'm presenting you with a legit show episode that turns into a musical, because that's how they have to figure out how to communicate with an alien. That's my time.
Right. Definitely interesting thing is bring the judges in, and I'll go first on this one. I'm not going to lie, I was leaning towards Joe for a lot of that argument until the closings. There's throughout the main round, like when Jay was sort of pitching and knocking down Joe's, I didn't quite get a sense of how where he was going with a musical episode for the Orville, and it wasn't until the actual closing in which he sort of pitched on what his musical episode would be, and that would be quite interesting. As he also brought up the fact of how covers of songs are overdone when it comes to musical episodes, and how a lot of musical episodes, when they do the covers, they're not as remembered as other ones. But yeah, so my point's going to go to Jay on this one. JDH, where is your vote going and why?
Joe, I felt, had a lot of ammunition that he could have shot Jay's argument down in a second, that he never got out, which is unfortunate. He had an opportunity to bring up the fact that when Jay brought up that, a musical episode would bring tons of ratings and all that, Joe never brought up the fact that the Orville got taken off Fox and went to Hulu exclusive, which kind of, in a way, could say that they're they're trying to go in exact opposite direction of a musical orientation. You could make the argument that they're trying to get more explicit with the show, but that never came out. Even if it's true or not, he could have brought that to the case. That I think really could have made it, a valid point to that. Jay also at one point said that who watches people do karaoke, and Joe could have just said American Idol or The Voice, and that could have shut down that argument too. So it's not that karaoke doesn't sell, because everybody and their dog apparently watches people that want to sing karaoke. So to me, there was just so much that Joe could have got out that could have ended this argument in a heartbeat, that he just never seemed to get out. And I agree with you, Malcolm. I think the closing argument really did it for me, for Jay, and that really kind of won me over in the end. So I'm going to have to agree and give Jay the point as well.
And with that, Jay does get the win. And your winner is Jay Burnz. And now we're going to go to post-match interviews. I'm going to bring in our second place winner, which is Joe. So, Joe, you came up short today. You had ended up being knocked out. But how do you feel about how the match went?
I think it went well. I definitely I just definitely, I left bullets in the chamber as they brought up. I fired a few shots and I was just like, that'll do it. And then I was just like, and then afterwards I was just like, oh crap. And I still have ammunition that I never forgot to. I need to start counting my shots and making sure that what I want to say I get out. But Jay is a front runner in the debate leagues for Rookie of the Year for a reason. I think he definitely will be able to beat Cody. He's gonna definitely take Cody to the distance. But now I think it's just it's karmic synergy. Where I got beaten by closing where I couldn't respond. I now know how Cody Newberry felt before. So, and it's not a fun feeling when you get beaten on a closing argument when you couldn't respond, but it is what it is. I want to see, because I would like Matt Kearns for my next match. The people to figure out, like, whether it be just a regular match or a number one contenders match, or put us in a triple threat against. No, we don't like triple threats anymore, but I want to see Matt Kearns and me go up for a spot for a number one contender match against the runner up of the tournament. So rather it's be a B&J rematch or me facing Cody after this, that's what I would like to see happen. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in this league. I'm going to keep competing.
I mean, you're both similar records, so I can probably make that. I can definitely make that happen. So, but yeah, I mean, that led into was going to be what my next question was. So we're going to bring in our winner today. Jay, you won today. How do you feel about your victory today?
I feel better about this knockout than I do about my knockout against JD West. I was a little bit of a dick when it came to that. And JD, I apologize, buddy. You're a hell of a debater. So is Joe, as a matter of fact. Personally, listening to both of our arguments, I would have personally, if I was judging this, I would have given Joe the point for the friends question. But that's in the past. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult. And the only thing I can say is take notes. That's really what helped me formulate my closing argument, and I'm glad that I used that minute. It really just comes down to strategy and a little bit of luck. I was just able to counteract what he had said, and by not trying to step over somebody's feet and allowing them to actually get their voice heard, I was able to come up and formulate with like comebacks or attacks on what they said. So maybe not just trying to bulldoze people is the way to do this. Do I really want to play Cody Newberry? Kinda. Is this the realm in which I want to play Cody Newberry? Not really, but I will play Cody Newberry, and it's gonna be a hell of a match. People will laugh. I was a little bit surprised that I got the knockout. I really kind of wanted to do question number 4. That's the one that I had actually prepped for. But I'm glad that I got the W. I'm glad that we all had a good time today. And follow me on Twitter at Jay Burnz 253, and follow me on Twitter also for Full Metal Classic at Classics CLASSIX Full, where you can get all your Full Metal Classic informations.
But yeah, it is going to be a really loud match. You're going to need to not wear your headphones. You will get your eardrums blown out. But do you have any final words for Cody, Jay?
Bring it, buddy. I can't wait. We've talked about doing this a couple of times. We've both said some words, some ideas, and information has been exchanged. I love the way that you judge. I love the way that you argue. I can't wait to see how my own unique style stands up to that. Let's fucking make this happen. Let's give everybody a show.
It's definitely the match that everyone wants. As I bring everyone in here. And so from our winner, Jay, from Joe, from JDH, and from Ryan, we'll see you next week with the big final. And just make sure, do not change that channel.